The following episode contains strong language, personal opinions, and unfiltered conversation. We are not experts, and we are definitely not role models. We're just three old guys talking real shit about real life. If that offends you, well, that's kind of the point. Listener discretion? Pretty strongly advised. Alright, welcome back, guys. We are doing I'm going to call it a rabbit hole video. I saw a clip that blew my mind, and I was like, that's got to be yes. There's no fucking way. So I looked it up and verified that it was real. And then some questions came to mind, and now I've talked to John and I've talked to Tim about this off camera, and I've heard a lot of stories about this band and the introduction of it that are great, and they're all publicity stuff. It turns out most of those stories are complete BS, and that upset me because those are the stories that I've had, throughout my time. That's what I always envisioned, and that's the story I stuck with. So I actually dug into it and had to verify through several different interviews and written comments and band interviews and production interviews and whatnot, and actually came to the real story, which, when it comes down to it, is wilder than the stuff that they came up with trying to be wild. I mean, in the short term, their stories were probably cooler. In the long term, the overall story, wild as fuck. Just straight up. If you like to see videos like this, like, follow, and subscribe. We would love to get your opinion on these things.
Please leave comments.
Oh yeah, we would definitely love to hear comments. Before you come at me, this is 30 hours of investigation into this at various different times. Straight up looking up videos, looking up interviews, reading articles, going back through, verifying this interview with this interview, and making sure that what I've got is as close to the truth of what happened as possible. And again, like I said, this is straight up bizarre. Now, I have not shown Tim or John these videos that I pulled up, and I pulled up some video clips to see if they recognize any of this. If they're anything like me, with over 50 years of experience with music and being very in depth about it, this is going to catch them off guard, because some of these videos were not easy to find. And I had to do some digging to pull up some of these.
Cool. Let's go for it.
Again, completely bizarre. Now I'm going to try and give some commentary. I'm going to play the first three clips to see if they can figure out what the correlation is between these first three clips. I'm hoping that we're able to get through this and it's a big reveal at the end. Knowing Tim, knowing John, they might recognize some of these clips and be like, oh yeah, no, I know who you're talking about, but I've got to hear this actual story. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with this clip. And this is the start of all of it. 1963, this band was going on, and they were the big inspiration behind the entire rest of this progression. So this is what we're starting with. Be with my girl, she's so pretty. Now, this guy over here is the important man in this group. He's the important part of this particular video. So we're going to wander onto this clip, and I want to see if you guys can figure out what the correlation is between the first and second ones first. So let's go ahead and play this one. Now, well, let's be honest. Let's get through a conversation. That is not what you would expect.
No,
at all.
Actually, I was thinking because I heard the wind. I was thinking of whiter shade of pale.
Yeah, because I told you at some point that this wandered through flute playing folk music.
Yeah, it'd be a whiter shade of pale.
Oh no,
And
I was thinking Toll, Jethro Tull.
Just what it felt, yeah.
that's an interesting take on it. That is not who you would expect.
No,
I did start the clip out on the important member of this particular strand.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a band from the late '60s, early '70s called Fraternity.
Fraternity?
This is a band called Fraternity.
A person. Okay.
okay.
Fraternity,
Yeah.
like the place where you go in for college.
Yeah.
So that's the name of the band.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we're going to go to clip number 3 here.
Wait a minute. That is. Was that the first singer of AC/DC or some shit?
Nope, that is not the first singer for AC/DC.
I got
You are on the right track, but that is not the first singer of AC/DC.
Ah, he looks familiar, and
And
yeah, I don't.
he very much does.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He at the time he was doing a very Rick Springfield, Billy Squier, Neil Diamond. That was kind of the
genre he was going
yeah,
with.
yeah.
the genre his
Yeah,
band was
but
in.
he switched to rock. I know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't place him.
And that is the rub. This is the clip that actually caught me off guard. I'm like,
Mhm.
you are messing with me. There is no chance.
The second you say it, I'm gonna fucking know it. I know
Yeah.
it because I've seen it.
So back to this original clip.
Yeah, this one I have no idea who the other person's gonna be in correlation with the other guy. Wait, no, because that guy and this guy, I believe, came together for a band.
They did not.
They did not.
Matter of fact, this guy here
Mm-hmm.
is the rhythm guitar player.
Right.
That's George.
Right.
And then you've got the bass player, Dick Diamond. Throughout the 60s and up until the late 60s, 69 is when the band broke up. They had quite a few hits in the UK. Big songwriters, George and Dick were the two songwriters for the band. They wanted to go different directions. Dick Diamond wanted to stick very much
This
Beatles.
Oh, familiar.
Diamond wants to stick Beatles, Kinks, The Who type direction.
Yeah, he wants to. Yeah, okay, that kind of style.
Now we're going into the 60s. George wants to go more the progressive, more the disco, more the punk era. He wants a harder sound.
Mm-hmm.
The two of them are at odds with the songwriting, and they're the writers for the band. So I mean, the songs just got wild.
Okay.
Two of the other members of the band had substance abuse problems, so eventually the band ended up breaking up.
Right.
George goes off. He decides he's going to be a producer and songwriter. Dick Diamond goes off and he starts his own thing. So now in the late 70s or late 60s, this band here, the Easy Beats, had ended up touring with a band called Valentine.
Right.
In
Okay.
Valentine, you had Vince Lovegrove, the lead singer for Valentine at the time. And he had a backup vocalist, Scott. So they're doing their own thing, and Vince decides he wants to do more progressive stuff, which is what talked George into being more interested in the progressive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the two of them became friends from the tour. They're talking to each other. They want to have a more progressive sound. It starts getting into his head, that seed of interest starts developing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what ends up causing the Easy Beats to break up. It actually breaks up Valentine as well. Scott and Lovegrove decide that they're going to go off and they're going to start another band, which is where we end up with this band. Now,
It sounds like the Moody Blues.
that song is probably one of the better ones that they've got, but it is a travesty. And it took me a long time to find this because apparently everybody is embarrassed about this video ever existing.
I can see why.
Yeah.
It was, and they got into an argument.
Too many men blowing on a flute.
So Fraternity is out touring around with this very folk sound. And, Love Groove needed something to keep things going. He wanted to stay in the musical environment, so he stuck with the band. But he became the backup singer. Scott became the lead singer. Scott was also getting into something heavier. He wanted something more. So they went on tour because he heard a song on the radio by the third clip that I showed you, which is a band called Gordy.
Mm-hmm.
He heard them on the radio, decides that they're a good band. He invites them down to Torrey in England for a performance.
Right.
Now, Gordy ends up being late. It's a long drive from Kingston, where they're at, down to Torrey, where they're going to perform. It ends up being late, but Scott really wants to meet these guys. So they show up late. Fraternity has to go on first. Gordy is, all these guys in Gordy are just losing their mind. They're broke. They're really hoping for this big break. They've got a couple of good hits in the UK, but they're really hoping because their popularity is waning. So they're really hoping for the best. So they know that they've got a room rented upstairs, but they've got to pay just to have the gas on for heat. And this has been winter in England. It's ridiculous cold. So Fraternity plays first. Gordy runs back. They get dressed to set up their performance. They come on second. Afterwards, they sit down at the bar, and Scott is talking to these guys, and he's like, I don't mind. We always close out the show, so by the time we're done, the bar's closed. We don't get the chance to hang out and drink. So it worked out great for us. Don't worry about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so cold and their room is so bad, they hang out all night and become friends. So the lead singer of Gordy, Brian, and Scott are hanging out. They're becoming great friends. By the end of the night, Fraternity takes off. They go to do their own thing. Gordy goes off and they do their own thing. A couple of months later, Scott gets into a fight with a couple of band members. He gets on his motorcycle, ends up in a accident, and puts himself in a coma for 3 days.
Okay.
So he's messed up. They can't find somebody else that's even willing to sing that nonsense. So Fraternity breaks up. Meanwhile, Love Groove is with this new band. He got invited to be a manager for this band because George is with this band, and he's like, hey, these guys need somebody that's actually able to guide them through what they're doing. We're going to have you come on as their manager.
Mm-hmm.
So Love Groove is over here being the manager. And Scott calls him up one day and says, hey, man, I know I'm just recovering from this bender where I screwed up. I ended up putting myself in the hospital for a couple of days. I don't have a band. The band kicked me out and then broke up. I've got nothing. Is there something you can get me at least doing to keep me going? He's like, well, the band is doing their own thing. It's an entirely different sound, but I think you dig it. We don't really have any openings. What I can do for you is I can make you the chauffeur. So he's like, cool, I need a job. So he goes on and he's driving the bus and he's driving the cars and he's driving the limo when they get the chance. But he gets to hang out with them every night.
Well, Scott.
Yeah, that's cool.
You'll figure this out here directly. So he's the chauffeur for the band. Not in the band at all. Then we're going to go on to this fourth clip that I've got here. So this is the band, which is probably going to be most of a giveaway. But the rest of the story kind of ties along. So this is the band that they're with Disco King Dave Evans.
It was going to be my first choice to say that, but...
Can I sit next to you, girl? Can I sit next to you, girl?
So Disco King Dave Evans he's all about the band being disco related. It's a disco glam band at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, the other guys in the band not happy with this sound. They want something more blues related, something a little heavier. So of course they're arguing about it on and off this whole time. And Dave Evans here decides he's going to storm out of one of the recording sessions. and they've got some shows coming up. Just bails, completely fucking bails on them.
Okay.
So now they're down at Protoa, a club down in lower England, and they've got no singer. So George and Love Group are like, what are we going to do? So the band is up there. They're playing classic tunes. They're playing easy beats tunes. They're just trying to do some instrumentals just to cover the show because they were already signed for it. And they've got to do something. And Love Group looks at him and goes, hey, our driver used to be the singer of our band. He had some issues, and now he's the driver. But he is a singer, and he's into more, faster stuff. He's been listening to us. He knows the songs. Why don't we bring him on? I'm not sure I like this. He's 28 years old. The rest of the band is in their early 20s. But he goes to the bathroom. Love Group goes outside. He grabs Scott, pulls him in. He's like, hey, do you think you could still sing? He's like, yeah, I could probably still pull it off. We'll fucking get up there. And sends him up. And George comes back out, and he's like, what's that? And Love Group looks at him and goes, that's the guy that's going to fuck up your songs. And he's
Little
like,
did they know.
yeah, wait a minute. What do you mean this is the guy that's going to fuck up my songs? So now remember, Scott and Brian are friends.
Mm-hmm.
So he calls Brian up because now their next show, they're going to be on the BBC. And he calls Brian up. He's like, hey, you got to check out BBC 2 tonight. And he's like, why exactly am I checking out BBC 2 tonight? Is there something special going on? So he turns it on, and you end up with this.
Bon Scott.
So this guy is Bon Scott.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That is Bon Scott.
Well, it makes sense. He does know how to play the bagpipes. He would know how to play wind.
That
Yeah,
was,
but the whole different genre and
Yeah.
the facial everything, it's just like a whole different person.
oh yeah, that was not
Wow.
and if you listen to his voice, it's
Mhm.
it's a different way of singing too.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this interview, and he calls up Brian. He's like, so what did you think? And he's like, well, if you're doing this, you're going to have to get more growly. You're going to have to put more power into it. And you're going to have to go above and beyond because, this is a bigger band. These guys are massive. You're going to have to match their energy. So they're going through, and he's getting tips. And I mean, all of these guys are saying, he's giving him tips. Randomly, he would get into, I don't know what I'm going to do about this song. He would call up Brian. Brian would give him tips on what he's going to do about this song. Obviously, 1980, Bon Scott passes away. It's very sad. About 6 months later, the band is now signed up to do something else. So Brian is back in Kingston. He doesn't have any work. He broke. The band is on its last legs. They're failing out in popularity. Nobody really wants to listen to Neil Diamond type stuff. And he gets a call from Olga.
Olga?
Olga. That's the.
Olga.
I don't know if that's her name. That's the name that Brian used. So that's the only name that I've got to go off of. But he says she was a very German woman.
Yeah, is it a
I
woman?
heard-
or is it
yeah.
an Olga?
I think I've heard the story from him. Yeah.
Me Olga.
So she calls up. She's like, you're the singer of the band. Yeah, I'm a singer in a band. I need you to come down and interview. I need you to come down and audition.
Mhm.
For who? I can't tell you that.
I can't tell you. Yeah.
Wait a minute. How you want me to audition, but you can't tell me who I'm auditioning? No, I can't tell you that.
Nope, can't tell you.
What kind of music is it? I can't tell you that. Well, what could you tell me? It's in London on Monday. I'm in Kingston. That's a long trip. I don't know that I can pull this off. Let me get back to you. So he's like, no, this is bullshit. Somebody is jerking my chain. They want me to drive down to London, and they're going to play a joke on me, and I'm just going to end up losing money. And right now I can't afford it. So he's hanging out. About an hour or two later, he gets a call from his manager and is like, hey, I got you a gig singing for a commercial. All right, is it paying good? Yeah, it's paying good. Well, tell me about it. It's in London on Monday.
Yeah.
What?
They're
This is
just
in
trying to
London.
get him up there.
This is in London on Monday. No, it's complete. They weren't related at all. He didn't know anything about it.
Okay.
Mhm.
But it just happened to be that this recording for this commercial was on Monday, and
In London.
in
Yeah,
London.
London.
So he calls Olga back up. And he's like, you know what? I thought about it. I got to be down there for another thing anyway. I'm gonna come in and see what's going on. Again, he has no idea who he's coming to see.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes down to London and he records. Now again, I had to dig this up because I'm like, no, there's zero chance that he was singing commercials.
The new high-powered compact from Hoover, it's a beautiful mover. The new compact does more than beat. It also cleans, it also sweeps, and brushes right to the edge. Right to the edge.
Well, it sounds like him.
Right.
It definitely sounds like him.
So he recorded this commercial
Mhm.
beforehand. It ran long. He called and said, "Hey, I'm running a little late. I'll get in as soon as I can." He gets down to where they're supposed to meet up, and he's like, "This isn't a recording studio. This is a bar." And he walks in, and there's two guys sitting at the table, and they're talking. And he goes up to the pool table, and there's a guy playing pool. And I had his name. I knew his name yesterday, but I couldn't remember. I can't remember it now. You're not going to take a blue class British guy and put him in front of a pool table. He's going to play pool, and he throws down money, and they start playing pool. He's talking to this guy. They're playing pool. They're cracking up jokes. They're hearing jokes from these two guys sitting on the side, and they're just cracking up and having this grand old time. He's not paying attention. He's focused on the pool table and drinking. 3 hours go by. He has completely blown his audition time.
Playing pool.
Look at the guys and they're like, "Hey, when Johnson gets here, send him upstairs. He's several hours late."
Okay.
And Brian turns around and he's like, "That's me." Goes with him and goes upstairs. And he's talking about, this band Gordy and his different music and whatnot. And they're like, "Yeah, recently we lost our singer. And it's really hard on the guys. They're trying to figure this out. They're trying to get through life." And he's like, "Yeah, I had this friend of mine that was in this bigger band, and he passed away, and it kind of hurt. But he used, I used to anticipate him calling me and asking me, about this or about this. And while he's talking about this, somebody puts a beer in front of him and is like, 'Hey, this is what you drink, right?' And he's like, 'Yeah, I can murder one of these.' And he takes the beer, and the guy behind him goes, 'Yeah, we know that he used to call you all the time. He wouldn't fucking shut up. That's why you're here.'" So he turns around, and it's Angus Young.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "I'm auditioning for AC/DC. When did this happen?"
When you showed up.
Yeah, when you showed up. Yeah.
He was not expecting it at all. And that's why it's such a trip of a ride that you managed to go from this, because that is Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson. Yeah, it kind of does make sense. Yeah.
Now, what's really sad is that's actually a pretty groovy tune.
Yeah.
Groovy.
All you need is the hat.
My only serious question is, what happened to Olga?
I've heard that.
Is she in the video? Can we get her in the video?
So that was not the rabbit hole that I expected.
But I mean,
yeah, when this came out,
Mhm.
it was the first time I ever heard AC/DC, because me and my family would go over to this place called Luigi's, and they had a jukebox, and I go ahead and put quarters in. Well, I heard this Back in Black. I heard this one in Hell's Bells. It was when they had 45s, two sides,
right.
the same thing. And that's when I heard. I'm like, these guys are really. Who is this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I got the tape, and I listened to the whole tape, and I'm like, cool. That's before I found out, like when you get like my first Ozzy album was Ultimate Sin, I
And
never
you
knew
came
about.
you came in late on the whole show, didn't
Yeah,
you?
I never knew
Okay.
about Randy Rhoads, so I went, both ways,
Right,
and I did
I
the
hear
same
you.
thing with AC/DC. I didn't realize that Bon Scott was the lead singer of AC/DC because
Right.
my next tape after that was um, Dirty Deeds. My next tape. That was my
That
next
was a good
tape.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That
with
was Bon
Bon
Scott.
Scott. Yeah,
yeah,
that
Bon
was
Scott.
Bon
That was Bon
Scott.
Scott. So I never even had For Those of Us to Rock as a tape.
Also
I
Bon
knew about the
Scott.
song. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the Brian Johnson.
Was
Brian
it Brian
Johnson's for
Johnson?
those about to rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact. AC/DC did a Sears catalog cover, I think you believe, in like 78, 77,
Now,
78.
see, now I'll have to look that up and see if I
Yeah.
can find it.
Yep,
Yeah,
look it up.
I've heard the story about we need you to come over here and audition, but we can't tell you for who.
Right.
I've heard that one. Yeah, that's
Well,
definitely.
that was a couple of things that caught me off guard. Is I was not expecting, first off, Brian Johnson to be doing radio jingles
Yeah.
and commercials.
Well, when you're trying to get by.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I get it. I understand his reasoning, and it just happened to work out great that he's doing this radio commercial on the same day that he's supposed to audition for a band that he has no idea who the hell they are.
Yep.
The thing of it is, though, the distinction between the two voices are almost,
Yeah.
very similar.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
And it's a good fit. It
Yeah.
was a good fit.
Well,
Well,
cool.
that's also what I heard that.
Well, and
There's-
that was one of the interview things that they pointed out that I got into is when he actually auditioned and they brought him forward to do these songs. He was thinking to himself, I told Bon all of these things that he needed to do to have that voice and build that following. And since I was the guy that and now it's time to put up or shut up.
Yeah.
So that's how they ended up with a very similar voice. Is
Yeah.
he now had to take his own advice.
Yep.
For that voice and that sound for AC/DC, which is why it ended up coming out very similar.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that Brian Johnson was giving tips to Bon Scott about how to sing.
No, I didn't know.
But that was the thing. If they hadn't performed that one night, Bon Scott wouldn't have gone from a folk singer to a rock singer,
Mm-hmm.
and he never would have met Brian Johnson
Right.
to get that advice.
Also, another point you might want to look up is that Bon Scott wasn't much of a beer drinker. He was a whiskey man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was a whiskey
He was
drinker.
definitely a whiskey man.
Well, no, I said
Not that he wouldn't drink a beer if you handed it to him.
well, Bon Scott was all about whiskey, and he went out on benders.
Yep.
It was Brian Johnson that was drinking the beer. I didn't say
Oh,
that-
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, he was totally surprised when Angus Young handed him a beer. It's like, this is what you drink, and he turns around and it's fucking Angus Young staring him in the. That's not who
Right.
you expect when somebody hands you a beer.
Yeah.
Right, but also, too, back in that time, they weren't as big as you would think. They didn't take off until
Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell.
Well, that was
and
his
then,
last album.
And then, that was the last album with Bon Scott.
Yeah, with Bon Scott.
But when they got
Mm.
him is when they started to reach. That's when
Oh,
they
yeah.
started to break into the
yeah.
U.S.
They just broke. They just broke free. They
Mhm.
just broke out with Highway to Hell, and
Right.
then all of a sudden he dies. They need
Mhm.
something. And I also heard a story that basically he told them, if you need somebody, get a hold of Brian Johnson.
Right. That's
Yeah.
why they called him in. Is like,
Yeah.
that's why the statement was he wouldn't shut up about you.
Yeah,
You need to bring him in. He's the guy that's to replace me if anything happens.
yeah, that's what he said. Yep.
So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that they were friends. I didn't know that they had that back history. And it really comes down to, now again, the story of AC/DC as itself is we can narrow that down. But really, if it weren't for the fact that Lovegroove was friends with Brian or with George Young,
Mhm.
they never would have hired Bon as the chauffeur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, that's fucked up. Everybody went to the high school of rock, where they fucking all know each other,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to that school.
I always loved to go to
Metallica
school
went
of
to
rock,
school
yeah.
with like half the fucking, rock stars in L.A. and these guys in England, they all went to fucking high school together. Where was that high school when we came
Yeah,
up?
I apparently wasn't invited.
Fuck no. I wanted to go to one of those.
So
Hang out with Jimi Hendrix.
yeah, I was not expecting, and that's why I say this
Yeah.
trip down the rabbit hole threw so many surprises my way. From my years listening to AC/DC,
Mhm.
60s ballads. Now, I knew that George Young was in a band that was all about 60s pop, very Beatlesque. So that wasn't too surprising.
Yeah, I'm not a Beatles fan.
But then I got to Valentine and Fraternity, and I'm like, what in the... Excuse me? This is what they sang. This is the guy who made It's a Long Way to the Top, if you want to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Talk about a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly,
no,
yeah,
totally different types.
And it worked out for him.
So it completely blew me away when I heard it. And of course, like I said, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw the clip with this guy singing disco, and I'm like, the fuck is this? And, you know, because the caption was the voice that saved AC/DC, and I'm like, why is Neil Diamond the voice that saved AC/DC? Because he looks like Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, it's a pretty catchy little tune.
But nothing to what he sings now.
And then they flopped over to Back in Black with Brian Johnson. I'm like, and I noticed the face, and I looked a little closer, and I'm like, wait, that's Brian Johnson. And I'm like, wait a minute. So that's what ran me down the hole of this can't be real. And that's why the stories that they put out there, as fantastical as they were, are great. But when you actually dig up the history of how they ended up where they ended up, it is way more bizarre than anything that they came up with.
Like, yeah, when we first started hearing about Bon Scott, we heard he just drove up, pulled up, and he's like, "Hey, I want to be a singer." And
yeah, that was the big thing, is they did that interview on VH1 where Bon Scott comes sliding up in his 55 Cadillac, got out, said, "Is this where the audition is?" Tilted back a bottle of whiskey and fell over, passed out. That's a great story.
Well,
but that's not what happened.
Yeah, I've heard many times, you know, the AC/DC hired their chauffeur to be a singer.
Yeah.
Which in terms it is true.
Yeah, it really is.
It sells, you know.
But you want to talk about a bonehead move. Think about Dave Evans and his perspective of, we're going to do disco. And if we don't do disco, I'm leaving.
He went the wrong way.
He went the wrong way to the top.
Well, back then, you know, disco was the thing. So, you know, I kind of see where it makes sense. But he went the wrong way.
It does make sense. It was a very bad choice.
Yeah, it lasted for, a whole 10 years?
I don't even think you got 10 years, because when...
Yeah, they got 10 years out of it. Because even Kiss went a little disco.
Yeah, and it's like their number one downloaded song.
Yeah.
The one disco song that they did.
Yep.
And that is their biggest sign. That when they go to metal concerts, they got people jumping like biblical locusts.
Yeah.
It's
they
fucking hilarious.
Fuck out of it. Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, they got 10 years out of it.
But yeah, it was the whole idea of, you know, Dave Evans wanted to stick with disco, and the band didn't want to, which AC/DC's got that crunchy blues sound, which is they're known for.
Yes, it's notorious.
And they made a very good choice, and of course, bringing on, you know, that whole I'm gonna just be a crybaby about it, because let's be honest, that was a temper tantrum. I'm gonna walk out and I'm not gonna show up to the next show.
Yep.
Yeah, almost like Dave Mustaine and Metallica.
Well, no, he got kicked out.
I know, but he bitches about it to this day.
Yeah.
They kicked him out in a really bad way. I mean, the day that they were signing their record label, they were in a one bedroom studio or a single room studio, eating bologna sandwiches. They all went to bed that night knowing that Dave was going to oversleep. They all got up and left him in the studio, and had Kurt meet them at the studio.
Yeah.
That's okay, because they both are okay. They're both fucking very well settled in their money.
Oh, yeah.
They are, but I can see that as an extreme slap. And they didn't even kick him out. They just fucking vanished.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
it's not even like Nightwish with Tarja, where they just sent her a letter and said, listen, we don't do this, we can't do this, you're gone, bye, you know.
But, you know, getting back to where we're at with AC/DC, Dan Evans had that temper tantrum where he just didn't show up to the gig, and it just so happened that, you know, here's Bon Scott, he's our chauffeur, he can sing, and he's already interested in it, so he's going to go above and beyond.
Yep.
And
He actually did too.
At that point, it was like, okay, so now Angus and Malcolm are like, that's the sound we want. George is like, that's the sound we want. Dan calls up, or Dave calls up the next day, like, did you guys think about it? Are we sticking with disco? And they're like, you're fucking out. We're going this way.
That's where the money's at.
And now Dave's over here going,
what the fuck?
How did I miscalculate this?
All right. My next question is, what happened to Diamond Disco Dave?
He's with Olga.
Dick Diamond.
Diamond.
That wasn't part of the main story, so I did not dig. I know I've heard the name.
Yeah, I think I've heard it too. Yeah,
I've heard Dick Diamond. I know that it's a bigger name. I did not look into Dick Diamond to find out what he did, but since we're right here handy, let's find out what.
Yeah, because I like to find out what actually happened, like, because he's kicking himself in the ass after all that. He's like, oh my fucking god! All we had to do is just go a little this way, and we could have had.
He would have been such a bitch. He'd have been all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Dick Diamond and the Dusters, and it doesn't. I don't know that they really.
Dick Diamond and the what?
The Dusters.
The Dusters.
Dick Diamond and the Dusters is a concept of a fictitious, bitter, past his prime nightclub singer. That's their band genre that they're going with.
Oh god.
So I mean, he understands that he messed up, and he's decided to make a joke out of it.
Yeah, good for him, I guess.
So those are the choices that they have made, and that was the rabbit hole that I figured I would take you guys down.
That's a good rabbit hole. I like that one. Yeah.
That is terrible.
Drop us a line and let us know if you actually knew any of this beforehand.
Yeah.
Or if this caught you off guard like it did me, because it blew me out of the water, and I figured that I was going to catch John and Tim completely out of the water on this too.
That was good. I like that. I always like a happy ending.
Well,
it turned to AC/DC. It didn't turn into Air Supply. Good.
Hey, while we're here, look up, see what happened to Olga. Olga, where are you, my love?
Actually, Olga was probably Angus's sister. Probably.
Olga was a groupie. She got trained.
Well, Olga, according to Brian, was a German secretary that the band had hired as a press secretary.
Oh, press secretary? Okay.
A bodyguard.
So, whether or not she had anything past that particular interview, because he wandered on to, okay, well, we did the interview, or we did the audition, I went through the whole thing, and then the next thing they're saying is, we need you to come with us. We got a couple of dates to do. And he's like, well, my guys only get paid for the shows that we're doing. They've got a show tomorrow night. I'll let them know that I'm leaving for another band. But I've got to at least perform that, so we'll leave Friday. He goes and performs. They're expecting him to show up. Gordy they're marginally known. They're not huge hits.
Right.
They're marginally known. So they're expecting him to at least be somewhat capable when he shows up. He shows up to the airport, and they're like, where's your luggage? And he's like, everything I own is on me. 2 pairs of pants, 2 underwear, 2 pairs of socks, a shirt, a jacket. Let's go. That's it. That's all he owned.
Definitely how rock stars.
You realize that the first time when they went to go write for Back in Black, they gave him a pad, a pencil, and they put him in a room with a bed. And it says, go in here and write some songs and write some lyrics down, and we'll come up with the music.
And now, I don't doubt that, considering the type of person Bon Scott was. One of the stories that I heard about Bon Scott was before he passed away. They were doing a show down in the Bahamas, and they were going to go from England to Australia, and then they were going to go over to the Bahamas from there. So Bon was supposed to meet up with the rest of the band in Australia, in Sydney. Bon's mom put him on a plane with his luggage to go to Australia. He never showed up.
Oh, Jesus.
On a plane, and never showed up. A week later, he calls in Sydney, and he's like, who's picking me up? I'm here. And they're like, where the fuck you been, dude? You been gone a week. I don't know. I got drunk and followed some girl off the plane in Singapore.
No, with Brian Johnson, when they were getting to Back in Black, They sit there, put him in a room, and yeah.
Right, but I can understand why they would do that with Brian Johnson, because that's literally how Bon Scott wrote. Is he would just go into a room and just like totally zone out on everybody. Right. He did goofy shit.
Yeah, you know the first song he ever wrote for them, right?
For AC/DC,
yeah.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah,
Back in Black, wasn't it?
No, it was. He sat there and said he went in there and he couldn't really think of much, but he knew he was a car guy. He was thinking about cars.
Okay.
He's like, well, let's see.
I know
she was a fast machine. She kept her motor clean. That's good. Yeah, let's go with that.
All Night Long?
Yep, that's the first song he wrote for him, and I heard that from the Professor.
Yeah, and he's pretty good about having great facts. Yeah. Some of this I actually got off of his channel too, because I didn't know it.
Yeah, but that was like, holy, wow, that's pretty interesting. The fact that was the first song he wrote for them.
All right, so this video is getting a little long. We need to shut this down.
Okay.
If you enjoyed the ride and you want us to do more where we find just completely bizarre stuff about it, and you want to hear more stories, where we try to dig up the truth of what actually happened and maybe just laugh about the complete and utter nonsense that was involved in this, drop us a line. Let us know what you thought.
Give us some ideas of what you want to hear.
If you saw the video and you liked it, you enjoyed it, like, follow, subscribe. Check out the websites. Check out the different things that we've got going on. We try to have as much fun as possible when we record these. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Yes, give us a thumbs up for Olga.
Yeah.
Cheers to Olga.
Cheers. Oi. 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 Oi.